long does an expungement take? Great question. We get that all the time. People want to get their record cleaned up as fast as possible. And so I have Zac with me. Zac is the law firm guru on expungements. Zac, you've been doing these for about 2 years now. Walk us through how long an expungement takes.
So from the time we get an expungement till the time we file it, we're looking a little bit under a month usually. It takes us a few weeks to get all the information together and get it filed. We have to send it back to the client for them to review to make sure it's all correct. And then we'll send a final copy off after that. So we're looking usually under a month from the time we bring a client on to the time we get the expungement filed.
You know, it's super important that we get everything right. There's statutory requirements. And, you know, if you mess up an expungement, it can lead to some devastating consequences. So we want to make sure everything is perfect. But Zac, let's break this down a little bit. One conviction in one county, that's not going to be the hardest thing in the world, but what can slow down expungements a little bit in your experience?
So if we're talking a typical misdemeanor or low felony expungement, the ones that are non-discretionary, where we expect it to be granted, it still can get slowed down if you have multiple cases in multiple counties. That means we're gonna have to file multiple expungements. And some counties require a hearing, even for non-discretionary expungements. So, and that takes a little bit longer too. Different counties are on different timelines. Hamilton County, for example, we've noticed that they get back to us on expungements very quickly. Marion County does the best they can, but it takes a little bit longer in Marion County than it does some other ones. So those are some of the variables that we see.
There is nothing more frustrating than going to a county that requires a hearing on a non-discretionary expungement because, you know, I love seeing court staff. I know you do too, and I love seeing judges, but it's like almost like an awkward thing. Like, and here for expungement, state what's your position? No legal basis to object. it's an interesting experience, and you know I understand why judges want it. Some judges want to do that, but Zac, you hit the nail on the head. Different counties are on different timelines, and you know we're one state, but we are 92 counties here, and every county, the judge is truly in charge of their court, and they're going to do what they want, and they're trying to do things their right way, the same way we're trying to do things our right way, and that's how it is. So, and Zac, what some of the issues we're running into with older cases? We're talking like people are trying to get their record expunged and their convictions go back to the 80s or 90s. What are some of the obstacles that we're finding?
So we love to see that because a lot of these people, it'll still make a big difference in their life, even with these old criminal cases. But we can't find that information as easily. Records started going digital fairly recently, and the MyCase system is great, and it goes back to the early 2000s, I believe, but it doesn't go all the way back. So that means there are some cases that there's no electronic trail for. So that means we're gonna have to go to an old records sort of place, track down these old records to make sure we're getting anything and everything that's in this person's criminal history.
It is one of the more frustrating things that we deal with when a client knows they have a conviction and we can't find it. And, you know, we start calling the courts, and then ultimately they have to go get fingerprinted at the state police. And that just drags things out. But, you know, you have to get your expungements all filed in the same time period. Otherwise you can't do it. And so, you know, I'm never going to rush a client through there or not do it correctly, because I don't want anyone trying to apply for a job 5-6 years and, oh, we found this conviction, you can't work here. And so, you know, we appreciate the clients, and we have to do the extra mile with the fingerprinting. It's not fun, but it is necessary. Zac, so
it's super important. Sorry,
oh, yeah.
I just want to cut in right there. It's super important because if we file an expungement and we get most of everything, but we find out a couple years down the line that we missed something, it's too late. You're eligible for one expungement in your lifetime. And we have a little bit of wiggle room from the time we file the expungement to make sure every expungement across all counties is filed. You have a year from the date the first one's filed. But once that time's up, if we don't get everything, there's nothing we can do to go back and add it in there. So we need to make sure everything's correct the first time it's filed.
So Zac, once we file the expungement, what is a typical response for the state I know every single county is a little bit different, but give me some guidelines so anybody watching this can have an idea. And we're talking about non-discretionary. We'll talk about the more serious stuff here in a minute.
Sure. So they have 30 days to respond to our expungement petition. They can ask for an enlargement of time, and that's gonna get granted. We that's just how it goes. And we understand that it's not common that they ask for an enlargement of time. We see it in Marion County more than anywhere else, but really it gives them 1 to 2 months to respond to our expungement to make sure everything's in order and they have no grounds to object to it.
And I know for clients it can be kind of frustrating waiting for the state to respond, particularly when it's non-discretionary. But there are two instances that I can think of where client said they had 1, 2, 3 convictions. All we found were 1, 2, 3, and then the state doing their investigation, they found an extra one. And it wasn't that the state was trying to throw a wrench into the system. They wanted to make sure that everything was on there. And so in that particular case, I was very grateful to that prosecutor. And we talked to the client. We're like, oh, how'd you miss this? And he's like, I forgot. It's a very long time ago. And that's understandable. So even though it can get kind of frustrating for the state to respond, I appreciate when they do their job too. Zach, we're talking about non-discretionary. Now, some expungements require a hearing. Am I right about that?
Yes, the more serious the crime, the more likely it is to require a hearing.
And so those do take a little bit longer. Give us a rundown on timeline for that.
So for more serious offenses, we're going to see it set for a hearing typically. A lot of times the prosecutor has input at that point because it's no longer non-discretionary. Both sides make an argument as to what they think is appropriate. Obviously, we think an expungement is appropriate, and the prosecutor may agree, but it's still going to ultimately be up to the judge. Some cases even require or allow for a victim to have some say in it. So all this stuff takes time, and the court's going to set it out for a hearing. And just like with a criminal case, these hearings aren't set immediately. They set it out for a month or two as it fits in the court's calendar. So it takes longer for the more serious offenses.
And with the more serious offenses, it's not typically you just walk into a hearing and say, hey, I'm here for my expungement. Typically we're preparing memorandums of support, why the person qualifies, why the judge should give them an expungement. And so it can be incredibly frustrating for the client who's trying to get expunged as fast as possible. But I don't want a situation where a judge schedules a 5-minute hearing for a major felony expungement, because we're not going to be able to present all of our evidence in that 5 minutes. And so I know it's frustrating, but we appreciate the patience. We're trying to get the record cleaned. So Zach, do you have any parting thoughts on how long does an expungement take?
I do. A lot of times we'll have somebody call and say, hey, I'm going to a job interview next week and I need a clean record for this job. And as much as we'd love to make that happen, that's too quick a turnaround. So get to us earlier. As soon as you're eligible, or as soon as you think you might be eligible, give us a call and we can find out so that we can have this prepared and ready to go. And that way, when this job opportunity comes up, or this housing situation that you're interested in comes up, you can have a clear record when you get to it. The more time we have, the better.
I love it when people call like 60 days until they're 5 years, or 60 days until they're 8 years. And it's like, oh my gosh, because in those cases, we truly can file at the day they're eligible. And, it's awesome. Okay. If anybody has any questions about expungements, how long does it take? Do I qualify? What's it all about? Give us a call, 317-632-3642. Zach and I love talking about expungement. We'll talk about it all day. Most importantly, remember, always plead the fifth.